Hello and welcome to Digital Goulash. My name is Chucky and today we're going to take a look at the brush tools in Photoshop Elements. Now I've already gone through some of the tools in lessons 1 through 4. These are the tools in the toolbox that I've gone over as the first 16 tools here, and we're up to the brush tools now. So if you click on the brush tool and hold it, you'll see that there are 4 different types of tools underneath the brush tool. If you click the B on your keyboard, not the control or the command, just the letter B, it'll take you to the brush tool. If you hit the N, it'll take you to the pencil tool. Now the easiest one to explain is the pencil tool. So let's start with the pencil tool. I'm going to create a new layer so I can paint above this picture of the giraffe that I took. And I'm just going to paint with the pencil tool. As you can see, the pencil tool has a nice sharp edge to this. Auto erase, what it does is every time I paint over the top of it, it is going to erase or put the background color on that. Not a real useful feature, so I don't normally use it. Opacity, I normally don't change my opacity or mode ever in the option bar. What I normally do is I go down to my layers palette, and if I wanted to change the blending mode to something different like an overlay like that, or I wanted to change my opacity, I would do it for the entire layer and I would not do it in my option bar up here. This is your size, of course. You can click the down arrow and move this left or right, and you can also use the right bracket key and left bracket key to make your pencil wider or smaller. If you click and hold on this, you can see that there are different sizes that you can also jump to. There are also different types of pencil shapes, like if I wanted to do the scattered maple leaf right here, and I wanted to make this a little bit bigger by using my right bracket key. When I clicked on my picture, you would see that there are all sorts of nice maple leaves that I have here. I could also go and place little stars on my picture, or I could go and do things like blades of grass. Those are kind of fun. Blades of grass right there. Now these are not meant to really make it look realistic, but if you wanted to put some sort of a design on a picture, those are kind of fun to use. So those are your different shapes right there. Now you can also go to the different ones right here. There are lots and lots of different ones, and I'm not going to try and cover them all. Just go ahead and pick a different one. Like right here, you can go to calligraphy and you can go and try out your hand at calligraphy by using the different options right in here. Now I'm going to go put this back on default, and we're going to cover the next tool right here. Click and hold on that, and we're going to go to the color replacement tool. Now of course you see that I've already done a little bit right here, and I've changed some of the spots on the giraffe to green. So I'm going to go over to edit, and I'm going to revert my picture to my original picture right there so you can see what I'm doing. Now I need to have a fairly large brush, so I'm going to use the right bracket key and make it just a little bit bigger. Now this tolerance, what it does is when I start painting over here, the tolerance is only going to change the colors that are very close to the color that I'm painting. So if I'm painting this brown color, it's only going to paint the brown color that I'm painting on right here, and we'll show you how that does it. Contiguous just means that the pixels are touching. So let's go ahead and start painting with this, and as you can see that it is changing the green, and if I go right here to the edge, you notice that even though I'm over just a little bit, it is not painting the white area. Kind of being careful right there that I don't go over the entire thing with my brush. Paint all the way around, and as you can see, it is only going to paint the brown pixels right there, and it's changed the brown pixels to green. Now if I wanted a little bit of a different color right there, I could go down here. Maybe I wanted to have more of a purple color, and I wanted to paint this one over here. I could do the same thing, being careful not to go too far over the edge, and just painting this, and it will change the color of my giraffe spots right there. So now we've got green and purple. I could continue doing this all the way through all the different stripe or spots on this giraffe. Now I don't normally change these right here. You do have 4 options: luminosity, hue, saturation, but I normally just play with the color. You can go ahead and play with these right here and see what they do, but I normally just leave it as is, color, contiguous, and then I play around with my tolerance. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Now the Impressionist brush, if you are a person that likes to be a little bit creative when it comes to oil painting looks, you could go ahead and do that. The options for the Impressionist brush are right here. You click on this funny little icon and you can see that there are different options right here. If I just choose dab right here and then I start painting, you can see that it kind of makes an oil look to this, and it uses the colors that I'm painting on top of, and it kind of makes it an oil painting looking thing. Now I'm not really good at this, so what I normally do is I use Corel Painter Essentials, and that does a much better job than this Impressionist brush. So I don't really use this, but I went ahead and showed it to you anyway. Let's go ahead and go to the next one, and that is the brush tool. There's our brush tool. You can see that you have the same options as the pencil tool. You can use a hard brush, you can use a soft brush, and then of course there's all these different shapes of the brushes. Not a whole lot of difference. This is a brush instead of a pencil. So the nice thing about the brush tool though is that we can turn airbrushing capabilities on. I'm going to create a new layer on top of this, and I'm going to paint using the airbrush. Now watch what happens when I paint with the airbrush. When I click and hold, as you can see, the longer that I hold, the more paint or the more ink gets on my picture. That is how the airbrush works right there. Now the other nice thing about the brush tool is that you can change some of the sizes. You could actually change the hardness of your brush. You could also change the shape of your brush right here by spinning it around and then grabbing these little circles right there. We could change the shape of our brush. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back to 0, and I'm going to put that on 100 to put it back to a normal brush. But let's go ahead and show you what the scatter does. Pull this all the way over in the scatter, and as you can see, it kind of puts little dots all over the place. Now once again, I'm not a real big fan of doing any of these weird things over here in our brush options right here. The hue, jitter, scatter, I'm not a big fan of these. What I normally do is I change the hardness of my brush right here, and I change the shape of my brush. I don't really do a whole lot of other things. But if you want to, you can go ahead and you can play with what these fade, hue, scatter, and jitter do. And you can also take it off of the airbrush and you can see a little bit more. Let me choose a harder brush right here so you can see it. I'll put this all the way over on hard, and you might be able to see it a little bit better. There you go. It's just, it dots things over there, and I'm not a big fan of doing this, so kind of an artsy effect, but I don't really use it. So that's your brush tool. I use the brush tool. I don't play around with this. I do use the airbrush once in a while, and I don't ever change the mode or opacity up here. I always do that on my layer palette down here. Color replacement tool is nice, and then the pencil tool is just a hard brush is really all it is. Now let's go ahead and go to the next one. This is kind of a cool thing. If you click and hold on the Smart Brush tool, you have the Smart Brush and the Detailed Smart Brush tool. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Linolfion right here. Let's go ahead and do that. We've got Linolfion. I want to thank Linolfion over here for letting me use this from the Creative Commons license. Now I'm going to click and hold and go to the Smart Brush tool right there, and then I'm going to click this drop down arrow in the option box, and you can see that there's one that says blue skies. So I want to make the skies a little bit more blue here. And then I have my brush. I can either make it larger or smaller with the bracket tool once again. And then you have a plus and minus up here. So what you're going to take away or add to the picture. Let's go ahead and click and then add. And as you can see, it kind of created a nicer, bluer sky right there. And then it picked a lot of the same pixels in the blue sky. Now if I hit Command D, it'll take the marching ants away, and you can see that it kind of changed that. Now of course her hair got changed in a little bit of that, so if I really wanted to, I could kind of go in there and do a little bit of a minus there as well. Right here. Take the minus out. So that is our Smart Brush right here. Now there's lots of different ones that you can use. You can make things greener by using this greenery one right here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and hit Control D right there, hit the plus brush, and there we go. We can try and make it just a little bit greener right there. And then hit Command D, hit our original picture again, and then go to the, once again, the blue skies. I can make the skies a little bluer right there. It's kind of a fast way. Hit Command D, and there we go. So we've added a little bit of a blue sky, and we've gone in here and we've added some greenery right there. So that's what the Smart Brush does. Now there's also the Detailed Smart Brush right there. Let's go ahead and look at the Detailed Smart Brush, and in order to do that I'm going to go over here to the Code Poet. I want to thank the Code Poet for letting me use this particular picture from Creative Commons. I'm going to click the down arrow, and as I go down you can see there's one that says lipstick right there. So I'm going to use pink on my lipstick, and I'm going to put it on Detailed Smart Brush, and I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. And what I'm going to do, as you can see, is I'm kind of painting lipstick on her right there from a detailed perspective. Now I'm not very good, so as you can see I kind of put a little bit too much lipstick on that right there, as you can see, and it looks like it's a really bad job. But you can go in here and you can hit Command plus or Control plus, and you could go in here and you could really go into a real detailed area and make her lips look like they have lipstick on them. Now I'm going to hit Control Z right there because I want to show you how to use the Smart Brush tool, the other Smart Brush tool with this. Make the brush a little bit smaller, and if I use that Smart Brush tool, what it's going to do is it's going to try and find all the areas where her lips are already pink or red. I'm going to hit Command D, and as you can see it does a much better job adding the lipstick over here. Now after you've added the lipstick over there, you could actually go in here and you can change the color of the lipsticks. If I say OK, you can see that there's now pink over there. Or if I double click this again and maybe I wanted to do the whole zombie effect with maybe more of a blue lips right there, you can see right there looks a little colder now. So that is the Smart Brush tool and the Detailed Smart Brush tool right there. So those are the two. In order to refine the edge, I have this selected and I go in here and I pick her lips right here and I click on Refine Edge. Maybe I wanted to expand or contract that a little bit. You could do that by going over here. You can see that it contracted it a little bit more. If I did that, it expanded it a little bit more. Or maybe I wanted to smooth this out to a nicer edge right here. I could smooth that out a little bit more. Maybe I wanted to feather this just a little bit more, or if I wanted to feather it just a little bit less right over in here, I can select OK, and that's how you can refine your edge right there. So the two tools that we went over the brush tool right here. Underneath the brush tool we have the brush, impressionist, color replacement, and pencil tool. I don't really use the impressionist brush, but I do think the color replacement tool is kind of a cool and fun thing to play around with. Once again, in the brush tool you have the option of going and using the airbrush capability or changing the shape of your brush. Over here in the Smart Brush, it allows you to go in and pick a lot of these things. I will tell you that the white teeth, that's kind of a fun one to do, and then the reverse black and white image where you make the color pop on a black and white image is also a nice one. These tutorials are just to show you the different tools and the different options. I will go more in depth on some of these and actually show you what they do, each and every one of them. This is Chucky from Digital Goulash. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my videos. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, pass my video links on to other people, and let me know if there's something that I can help you with. Cheers!